Hi, everybody. I thought I'd talk a little bit about the shoulder today, not just for my class at the massage school, but for all of you out there who want to know how your body works. So, the shoulder is not a joint. Sometimes you'll hear that phrase, the shoulder joint, but it's no less than 5 actual joints. So you have these 3 true joints or anatomical joints where the bones of the shoulder girdle come together. That's, you have the collarbone or clavicle, and you have your shoulder blade in the back. And your collarbone attaches to both your sternum here and to your shoulder blade in the back. And then those two come together and they form kind of this strut system that articulates or forms a joint with the head of the humerus, the arm bone. So you have this sternoclavicular joint. Then you have an acromioclavicular joint. Here's the sternoclavicular joint and the acromioclavicular joint. The acromion of the acromion process of the scapula. And then those two form a joint with the humerus, the glenohumeral joint. They call it the glenohumeral joint instead of the scapulohumeral joint because it articulates, the humerus articulates with this little depression here in the shoulder blade called the glenoid fossa. Fossa means depression. And check out how weird that scapula is. That's a really interesting bone. So the scapula itself not only is forming a joint with the humerus bone, but it itself is moving on the back of the ribs. So they call that a physiological joint. So you have this acromioclavicular joint, sternoclavicular joint, glenohumeral joint, and then like that whole thing at the scapula is moving on the back of the ribs. And if that wasn't enough, there's also what they call a secondary physiological joint, this subdeltoid or subacromial joint. It's either, you can think of it as under the acromion here or under the deltoid muscle here. It's actually under that, and it forms a little bit of a slippery, slidey joint, physiological joint, just like the scapula on the back of the ribs. So if you think about that, why is that important to know the names of all these joints? Maybe it is or it isn't, but what I really want people to understand is the big picture. The big picture is that you have a whole bunch of different joints moving in different ways that all contribute to overall shoulder movement. So if you have stiffness or soreness or muscles, or like me, I'm working with frozen shoulder right now, so I can't lift my shoulder very much to show you. But like all of this is contributing. So like I got a massage today and they worked not only on the chest muscles and the shoulder muscles and the back muscles and up into the neck muscles and all of this stuff to give me a little bit more freedom and to work with all of these compensation tensions that I'm getting from this shoulder stuff that's going on. But let's look at it in at least 2 different categories of movement. So we have glenohumeral movement itself, movement of the humerus in this fossa. That's a true synovial joint, and it moves in a lot of different ways, right? It can flex and extend and abduct and adduct and circumduct and rotate. So it has true ball and socket joint movement. But then you have a little bit of movement that's happening here at the sternoclavicular joint, and then you have a little bit of movement that's happening here at the acromioclavicular joint, and you have a little bit of slipping, gliding movement that's happening at the subdeltoid joint. And then you have a whole heck of a lot of movement for most people that's happening as the scapula is moving on the ribs. It's not only moving the humerus. It's moving the whole system that's moving the humerus. So I think I'll talk more about those in other videos specifically, and go over the muscles, the types of movement that happens there, and the muscles. But yeah, just to give you a big picture, that a movement at the shoulder is a lot different than movement at the hip. It's very complex, and it's because you're working with 3 true anatomical joints and 2 physiological joints, and all of those have their own contributions to the movement of the shoulder. So thanks for watching that, and I'll put the links to other shoulder videos down in the description below.